Hey, so I wanted to do something a little different today. I wanted to talk about Steam Deck again and kind of revisit it because number one, I just can't help but talk about this thing. I love it. I've technically now had one pretty much since day one, so my experience has changed a little bit, but also it seems like a lot of you guys out there are finally starting to get your hands on them. Valve has publicly talked about how they have been doing better with shipping and getting these things out, so I have had some of you guys reach out to me about yours. So consider this kind of like an update video. I did like a living with Steam Deck for a month video, so now this is it. A couple of months, I guess, but also just an excuse to talk about a couple of games that I haven't really talked about on this channel too much that I've been playing specifically on the deck. Is that what we're calling it now? The deck? Did we shorten it to deck? Like if you're like, hey man, this is my deck. Pass me the deck. I don't actually like the way that sounds, but all right. So hardware stuff specifically, not too much new insight other than that. I would say that I very much am pretty okay with the battery life. It's been memed. Everybody kind of brings it up to me when I mention the Steam Deck. They're like, haha, have fun playing that game for an hour at 20 frames per second. Like, I find a lot of that kind of bullshit a little bit hyperbole, just ramped up. It's been really solid. I've actually not really run into too many issues where I found myself disappointed with the battery life. Granted, I've always used a lot of hardware. I've always been an early adopter, so I might kind of be a little more forgiving, but I don't have any actual technical data, or I'm not like this crazy person keeping track of battery lifetimes. I'm not no scientific process or anything, but just in terms of going by feel, I've been happy with the device and its performance to battery ratio. Also, the charger that it comes with itself is good. Now, one interesting thing, I really have kind of strayed away from traditional PC games, where at first I thought it was very cool, very novel to play things like one of my favorites, like City Skylines, or I don't know, Frostpunk, which does have decent controller layouts, but still, the trackpad, touchpad things on here, you probably remember in my video, I did say I don't think they were the greatest, but they were usable. But I think at this point now, after having it for a while, I do try to avoid using them. So I do stick to games that can, typically be played with a regular controller setup. The gyro aiming stuff every once in a while does come in clutch. I have used that a bit here and there, a bit more than I expected, and ultimately more than the trackpads. Now, I thought I was going to be able to come to this video. I've had this video in my head for a while now. I thought at this point I would have some more accessories to talk about, just some stuff I would get for it, but surprisingly, I've been raw dogging this. Sorry, I should not say that. My Steam Deck is pretty stock, really. I put the biggest micro SD card I could in it, but that's really about it. I love the case that it comes with. I've talked about that in the past, pretty tight. I haven't put a skin on it or anything. I really haven't found anything really compelling other than charging stands, which my current setup, my life work balance and my home, it's all unorganized, so I don't really need one, but I will eventually get one of those. The only thing I've really used that has come in clutch is, and you have to look up, dock specs and stuff, but just this little shitty dongle I bought from Best Buy with my Best Buy rewards, coupons, points. It was not a lot of money. It's got USB-C, regular USB, HDMI to regular USB-C. It's nothing. But this has been useful for me plugging this thing in and messing around with it on a full monitor, which I do still like to do from time to time. But interestingly enough, and I will get to the games, I promise, but I do kind of find that the honeymoon period is over for tweaking and modding it and messing with it. Now, that was a big emphasis in my Game Ranks Before You Buy video and my video I did here. I really loved downloading stuff, hacking stuff, getting stuff to run. I got all the storefronts that you technically shouldn't run on this. I had them running. I was PlayStation remote playing. I was Xbox cloud remote play, whatever the hell it's called. Basically, I had so much fun doing any single thing I could do on it. But now that's kind of calmed down. I kind of just mess with RetroArch here and there when there's something specifically I want to play, PCSX2, but that's not my main thing on this device, which is it's cool to have that option, and it's always going to be my go-to still when I do that stuff, but I think it stands the testament to just how good this thing is as a regular gaming machine. All those fun Linux bells and whistles aside, the fact that I just game on it regular straight up, it just shows how good it really is. So games-wise, what I've been playing on it, I played a lot of Mad Max on this. Now, you guys probably remember a couple of days ago, I did a video on that. Thank you for watching that. That video popped off. But yeah, a lot of you don't know that a lot of it I did end up playing on Steam Deck just to really check it out. The Xbox version I mentioned is 60 FPS or 120 FPS, which is great. But to have it on the Steam Deck, I also couldn't deny myself that, and it was really cool to play a fun, grindy, open world thing where you're checking things off and you're just doing it on the go on your thing. Also, Rollerdrome, fun fact, I put out a video on that like 2 days ago. It's one of my favorite games of the year, straight up. You should absolutely play it. It's essentially Max Payne, John Woo Stranglehold mixed with Tony Hawk's Pro Skater and Jet Set Radio, which is my dream game. Like, that's like a combination of things that I love, and this game absolutely nails it. It's cheap, it's not super long, but it's incredible, and I hope they make a sequel. I'm gonna stop myself there because hopefully you watched my whole video on it, but I played probably 50% of this on the Steam Deck. Like, sometimes my review process now is playing a portion of a game on Steam Deck and just knocking it out. It's actually helped my process. When I get a game on PC, I just have more access and I play the game even more because I can play it anywhere, anytime. Is that good for work-life balance? No, but I'm loving it.
Hey, now, before we continue, this episode is sponsored by Factor. Factor delivers fresh, never frozen, dietitian-approved meals right to your doorstep. A lot of people ask me how I could possibly play so many games and put out so many videos, and a lot of it comes from not worrying about what to eat. Factor meals show up and they're fresh and they're nutritious, they taste good, and I can just heat them up in the microwave in minutes. This way, I'm not losing time shopping for groceries or meal prepping. I'm just, boom, good to go. Everything is taken care of. Work, lunch, with no additional thought whatsoever, and more time for me to focus on doing what I do. They offer keto, calorie smart, chef's choice, vegan and veggie options, which include seafood, meat, and plant-based meals. So there's a lot of choices for ways to eat right and feel good. So you want to check it out? Head to go.factor75.com/onjake130 and use code onjake130 to get $130 off across 6 boxes. Once again, that's go.factor75.com/onjake130 and use code onjake130 for $130 off across 6 boxes. Go eat good, and thanks again to Factor for sponsoring this video.
Now, on the other end of things, like the real chill out thing, I have talked in the past how it was nice to kind of like play high-end cool games in bed, which, like, as shitty as it is, it kind of replaced like reading a book before bed or anything like that. I'm very much like, I don't want to be on my phone at night. That sucks. But then I have replaced reading with video games, so whatever. But that has really stuck, and it's stuck specifically with like turn off your brain, chill out games. Specifically, I still all the time play on it. I have it loaded up. Vampire Survivors, which is another thing, and not to repeat myself, I made a video on, and it's an incredibly addictive $2 game, $3 game. It's really stupid, but excellent and addictive, and it's gotten way better with updates. So the fact that I've kept it on the Steam Deck and I keep going back to it is just like a big shout out for that. Also, I crush a lot of Power Wash Simulator on this thing. It runs pretty great on it, at like average settings, and yeah. Oh, and another thing I haven't talked about on this channel though, man, Ollie World. Ollie World is perfect on this. Ollie World is pretty great. I feel really bad that I haven't taken the time to talk about it. This is from the people who also made Rollerdrome. The Ollie games are great, but Ollie World is like it makes the most sense. It's got the most to it. It's got the most legs to it. It's got customization. It's just got like way more depth, way more things to play through. So I have been really digging that, and the controls are mapped perfectly. The feedback is still good on this device. And if you do like skating games and like 2D type games like that, highly recommend it. I still feel guilty that I didn't talk about it earlier. I just didn't have time, but it is another one of like my types of games. And another one, speaking of my types of games, this game is dropping next week. I have been reviewing Midnight Fight Express. Now, when this was first announced, I did express some excitement about it, and I don't know if it's quite living up to what I thought it would be, but it is still a lot of fun. So it's essentially like a top-down brawler beat 'em up, and where I thought it was going to be a little bit more Hotline Miami style, it's a bit more Batman Arkham, which is not a bad thing, but it's about countering comboing, using objects and weapons in the environment to take down enemies. It's all about like very nice looking motion captured kung fu takedown moves and parries that are really, really satisfying to pull off. And every once in a while you can pick up a gun and then it turns into like a twin stick shooting game for a second, but you can only use the amount of bullets that are in the gun and then you drop it because the focus is really on like fast paced fights and action. The only thing is like I really don't like the story, and there's a lot of emphasis on the story, and so far I haven't really been too into the character customization. They've put a lot of resources into beefing up your character with cool clothes and items, and I just found it kind of like fluff and not as great as I was hoping. But the story is the other thing where it just really kind of detracts. It gets in the way from the awesome sequences. I just want to punch dudes and throw garbage cans at them and stuff. So let me do that. The story doesn't really do much, but the moment-to-moment gameplay itself, the levels are super short and digestible, which has been great for Steam Deck, an on-the-go device, a portable device where you just want to fire it up, play a quick round, and then shut it off, and then go to work or get off the subway or, whatever you're doing. It's been really, really good for that. And all of the levels, while mostly short, are like incredibly unique and have some cool scripted action moments, and there's a good introduction of like staggered enemy types that you have to deal with as you progressively get way cooler. The progression of you leveling up and getting different fighting skills and different combat moves is great. I think ultimately I do recommend it. It's not a full price game, and again, the dialogue and like the story I'm not into, but if you just want like a good simple brawler, it's been scratching that itch for me. And speaking of kind of performing well on Steam Deck, SpiderMan. Man, I mean, you guys know how much I love the SpiderMan game. As much as it's not absolutely perfect, I want more swinging mechanics, I want more to do, blah, 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 blah. We've talked about that game to death before, but playing it on the Steam Deck is magic. Like, really. So I've never uninstalled SpiderMan from any of my devices because I love firing it up and just going for a web swing. It's what I've done since every Spider-Man game, even the bad ones, but since the original Spider-Man 2. Sometimes I just want to go for a swing and cheer up. And now the fact that I can do it on the go on this Steam Deck wherever I am makes me feel like a god. Yes, this is one of the bigger AAA crazy games, so it does drain the battery. And yes, the frame rate ain't too great. I was playing at like 40, 30, something like that. I very much, and not everybody agrees, but like on a smaller screen, I don't think it's as bad, but I did most importantly found it perfectly playable, specifically with combat. I jumped into like the hardest combat scenario I could and saw if my skills could keep up with like the lesser frame rate. I have been taking advantage of the being able to adjust the screen refresh rate, which has been great, but combat has been fine, and I've been able to get through combat, and I found the fidelity, the graphics, the frame rate to be totally playable. And again, really, it's just to get that good swing in. And it just, again, like, it's so corny. I'm being a cheeseball, but it makes me so happy to just turn this thing on and go for a swing. Ultimately, I've stuck around with the Steam Deck like on a weekly basis more than I expected, because I have, I have a short attention span sometimes, and I bounce around. Like if there's some shiny new object that's on PS5 and it keeps me busy for a long time, I will leave whatever else I'm using in the dust. Granted, I'm spoiled. I have most of the consoles and everything, but even with me playing on PS5 or something I have to sit down at my PC to play, I still find myself wanting to fire up the Steam Deck and play something different or play something old on it, and I think that really shows how good it is. It's fun to use. It's always there. I always kind of have it charged. And it's also made me appreciate just how good Steam cloud saves are. Valve did a really good job with them. And as someone who often gets kind of screwed over by cloud saves, who jumps around from consoles and stuff, I'm happy with Steam's implementation and how it works with the Steam Deck. It's been nice for me to be in that ecosystem and really like bounce around within it. I've always known it was good, but you don't really realize until you're jumping on Steam Deck. Now, this totally did sound like a shill fest for Steam Deck. Again, I just like the device, dude, and I wanted to talk about it a little bit more with you guys, but this is a two-way street. I want to know what you guys are thinking in the comments. If you finally got one, what are you playing on it? If you're still on the fence or you just don't want one, I also want to know why. Everybody's different. Everybody has a different use case for games, so let me know what you're thinking. But if you are playing something, let me know what your favorite thing is on the device. Is there a game that you liked, but now you love having it on the go? I think that's a fun conversation. So hit me up. Let's talk down there. Again, big thanks to the sponsor of this video. And if you guys click on it or whatever, it does legitimately help me. Thank you. But clicking the like button is the big thing, because I'm just trying to talk about stuff I love here, and the algorithm doesn't always love that. So thanks for your support. Thanks for having my back. But that's it. Thank you for being here, listening to me ramble. Subscribe because video games. Pizza's on me.